and Valvoline.
And the Molson Indy in Toronto on ESPN International.
That was the man on pole position, Jacques Villeneuve, welcoming us to Toronto in Canada for this weekend's round of the IndyCar Series, live and exclusive, of course, on Eurosport tonight. And what a weekend for motor racing fans. So 98 laps in store for us around the streets of Toronto. It's very fast, it's very bumpy, and as you can see from those earlier pictures, there is, they say, a 50% chance of rain, although the cars are now out on their parade laps and it is dry and sunny at the moment. On the front row we have, again for the second weekend running, Jacques Villeneuve, last weekend's winner at Road America, that superb circuit in Wisconsin. And alongside him, Jimmy Vasser. In my personal opinion, the two best drivers in IndyCar currently. The man on the crutches, Paul Tracy. He had a karting accident, believe it or not, just over a fortnight ago. And he hurt his foot quite badly running away from the accident, running away from his kart. He cut his foot open quite badly. And last weekend at Elkhart Lake, he was racing with it heavily bandaged, but he came second by about half a second in that race from the championship leader, Jacques Villeneuve. And there is the front row confirmation for you. Jimmy Vasser and Jacques Villeneuve, a good, hard-charging, young front row for this street race in Toronto, and it should be extremely exciting. A couple of good overtaking places, Teo Fabi and Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt, of course, on the Firestone tyres. They do not want rain, the Firestone boys. Then it's Bobby Rahal and Mike Andretti. Let's hope Mike Andretti can stay on the circuit this weekend. He badly needs to. And Newman Haas badly need the points. Then it's the Robbie Gordon, second in the championship. Alongside him, Al Unser. Still the Penske not going that well. Al Unser much further back than he'd like to be for this one. Andre Ribeiro in the Honda-powered car. And alongside him, the other Newman Haas driver, Paul Tracy, in the Lola Ford. Then it's Gilles de Ferran, who had a good race at Road America until problems halted him. Christian Fittipaldi alongside him, the two Brazilians. Then the old man of the race, the veteran Danny Sullivan and Maurizio Gugelmin. The Mexican, Fernandez, and Raul Boesel alongside him. Then it's Emerson Fittipaldi, way back, Emerson, with Stefan Johansson alongside him. Brian Herter, that's Jimmy Vasser's teammate, way back, alongside Chiva. Then Zampedri and Salazar, going back now towards the back of the grid. Carlos Guerrero and Eric Bachelard, Marco Greco and Hiro Matsushita. These people regularly bringing up the rear. And then Buddy Lazia, who's taken over this car at a very late stage. And as you can see, the weather is a little bit threatening in Toronto, as it has been all over the world today, as far as we can gather. And very difficult decisions in motor racing when you have rain threatening. Will it be wet? Will it be dry? What should we do with the tyres? What should we do with the setup? There's the Nations Cup, United States with a fairly healthy lead, but thanks to Jacques Villeneuve, Canada not that far behind. There's the chassis, engine and tyre setup. It's been a very good year so far for Reynard, you don't need me to tell you that. And Ford Cosworth too, going extremely well in the IndyCar Championship this season. In fact, it's looking something of a Ford and Reynard benefit right now, so Penske and Lola and Mercedes and Honda will be working extremely hard to catch up. Just seconds away from the start now, as Jacques Villeneuve, the man very much on form at the moment in IndyCar. We hear he will not go to Formula One next year. Well, that's the latest story anyway, that he'll stay in America for a third year of IndyCars, as he leads the field round with Jimmy Vasser just behind him. Jimmy Vasser, extremely successful in Formula Atlantic and a very quick driver indeed. So this could be an extremely exciting opening few laps. There's Emerson Fittipaldi way back down the grid as Jacques leads them nice and gently round now. The field formed up neatly and slowly behind the pace car. No overtaking on this lap, of course. This a great chance for the crowd to get a good look at the cars and sort out their favourites for the race before they really start to fly around here. It's a sub 1 minute lap. Villeneuve's pole time just a fraction over 58 seconds. The straight here is about 180 miles an hour, and there's a left-hander past the pits here at Toronto. If you haven't watched before at Toronto, that really is absolutely, well, I think the current expression is awesome. It's very quick anyway. And our Our commentators for the race today are Paul Page and Sam Posey as they take the green in its Villeneuve.
The field through nice and smooth. Boy, Jack gets a tremendous jump. Michael Andretti trying to make a move from the outside. And he comes around Teo as the field now closes in. Here comes Michael. Michael tries to get past, can't get it done there. And already Brian Herta in trouble as he rolls off the edge of the course. Looking very strong, running in third. Michael Andretti trying to catch up to him. Front of the field is still Jack. And this is the view back from Brian Herta's car as they try to either get him off the course or get him going, getting back into competition. Sounds like the motor is running.
Herta's snake bit here. This is where he had his big accident and his broken legs last year.
Jack Villeneuve leads the first lap as they scream across the line. That's the area that everybody seems to be concerned about, but so far it looks pretty good. Indication now that they're going to go full course yellow. This is the reason. So that will change the strategy. Probably not this early in the race.
Not really. Everybody's in a good solid line. I think Scott really showed some real aggressiveness there in holding the position, third position, when Michael was trying to press. But other than that, I think everybody's in a solid line and doesn't really affect the race strategy that much.
So full course yellow will come out, they say, though as yet we have not seen the flags that would indicate that. The field is lined up in competition. Jack Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser, Scott Pruitt, Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy. Still looking. There was a report that they were going to slow this field because of Brian Herta's position. They have not done so. Okay, keep an eye on the right side of the screen. Herta actually got in contact with Stefan Johansson and then Eddie Cheever. Cheever and Johansson both able to continue on, and it looked like there was some contact with Eric Bachelard there behind at the same time. No full course yellow. They're going to keep in competition.
It must have been on one of those. They have three corners here that they can actually put the car behind the tar barrier and remove the car from the track without having to, go full course yellow. So it looks like that was one of the corners.
Yeah, and IndyCar has been fairly conscious of that. Sam.
Well, we saw waving yellow at this turn, and here is where they're trying to extricate Herta from the tire barrier. But they're obviously going to stay with that local yellow at that one turn, which is very good news for the race.
Except that it's taking away, Lynn, one of the key turns, one of the two areas that you can really pass.
That's right. I mean, but it's early, so I think that, they've just got to really stay clean here and stay in line and stay close to whoever they're going to try to get by.
As we ride with Bobby Rahal, just be aware of how rough this track really is. We spoke earlier about Paul Tracy and the trouble he has with his injured left foot, and it's because of the bumps that throw his foot around inside the cockpit that he's in such pain in the race.
Down past the first turn, the Princess Gate, you ride with Bobby Rahal. He runs in 7th position.
185 miles an hour down this back stretch, running along the shore of Lake Ontario. Then they slow for the tightest turn on the track right here, turn 3. You see Rahal following Bobby.
Rules for the waving yellow area generally say from the time you see it until the time you get past the incident or past the final yellow, you have to maintain position and cannot pass. Teo Fabi, number 33. Some that expect a great deal out of him today. He was quickest in the morning warm-up. Currently runs 6th. Paul Tracy closing down on his teammate Michael Andretti for 4th. And there's Brian Herta, the walk back.
I gotta say, it's great to see him get away from his car and be able to walk away from it this year, which of course he couldn't last year.
I would almost say that he's probably relieved at this point that he doesn't have to run here. Remember, he was in a terrible accident here a year ago. In fact, at first they said he would never walk again, let alone drive a race car. And here he is, not only driving the race car, but able to walk away from it after that first lap incident.
Now, here's the man who's in great pain, Paul Tracy. His left foot injured. His stitches have come loose twice over the weekend. He spent more time over in the medical tent than in the race car. He had a bad night Friday night when an alarm went off in his hotel. They all woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He didn't get back to sleep. He's on some painkillers. This man may last only 10 or 15 laps before the pain in his left foot really begins to overwhelm him.
But doesn't that speak to him, Sam, as a competitor, that he's out there, he's doing the best he can? Many others probably would have said, "Nah, I can't do it."
Paul Tracy is an awesome competitor. I've gained so much respect for him this summer. He had that brilliant drive in Portland with tonsillitis at Elkhart Lake last week. He drove with the foot in great pain. Again, he's shown his colors this weekend. Paul Tracy is one of my major heroes, I'd say.
So Jack Villeneuve in the lead of the race with 5 laps complete. In second is Jimmy Vasser, then Scott Pruitt, then Michael Andretti, the man we were just talking about, Paul Tracy.
So after 5 laps, the pole sitter Jacques Villeneuve leads. From Jimmy Vasser, Scott Pruitt, Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy, and in 6th position at the moment, Al Unser Jr. But the man on the move is Bobby Rahal. It's so typical of the man, this. He settles down for the first few laps and then he really starts to get on it. And do not discount Bobby Rahal for the championship this year yet. Jacques Villeneuve has a fairly healthy lead, but there he is, Bobby Rahal in the black car at the back of your picture now. He almost always finishes his IndyCar races and he almost always comes away with points. So, the race settling down now into a pattern. Brian Herter out already. Jimmy Vasser's teammate, Brian Herter, out after a collision with, first of all, Stefan Johansson and then with Eddie Cheever. He was not able to continue. The man who had a terrible accident here last year. There's Gilles de Ferran in the yellow car at the back of the picture at the moment. Very popular driver at home in Britain, of course, Gilles. And a bit of an up and down year for him. Some weekends he's got, look at Rahal trying to get down the inside. That's one of the slowest parts of the course there, turn 5. Rahal having a look, but there just wasn't room. There's very little room there up against the concrete wall. But that left-hander past the pits is the most important corner here. I have to say, Villeneuve-Reynard looks superb through that corner, and you carry so much speed down into turn 1 if you can get that left-hander past the pits right. And you can see it's pretty bumpy all the way around here, but Villeneuve looking very comfortable at the moment in the lead from Jimmy Vasser and Scott Pruitt. But of course, a long way to go, and it doesn't look as though it's going to rain. Let's hope not, because that will interrupt the race in a big way. Michael Andretti falling back now. The 2 Newman Haas teammates, Andretti and Tracy, in 4th and 5th positions. And as we've heard, Tracy again for the 2nd weekend running, racing in tremendous pain from that injury to his left foot. And Scott Pruitt now is catching Jimmy Vasser, there's no doubt about it. Pruitt now right up on Jimmy Vasser, going very well indeed with those Firestone tyres. They seem to get better as the season progresses, and maybe they've just got it absolutely right here on the street circuit in Toronto. But look at Bobby Rahal, he's on the move. He's up to 7th position now, and he'll be challenging Unser Jr. in the next lap or so, I would think. He's past Unser Jr. now. He's past Unser Jr. and he's up now into just out of the top 6. That's Bobby Rahal in the black car.
With a sore foot, fending off Teo Fabi. Let's go back to Paul Page, Lynn St. James, Sam Posey, Gary Gerald, and Jack Arute.
Welcome back to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Exhibition Place, the Indy cars. Jack Villeneuve leads them, followed by Jimmy Vasser and Scott Pruitt. Nothing has changed since we last left you, though they are running very close at the front. And we're still waiting to make sure that they get all of the course clear. It does appear that turn 3 is clear now, and they can run through here. One car to watch is Bobby Rahal. You're right on board with him right now. He's been moving back and forth at the back end of Teo Fabi in an ongoing battle for 6th place. Now you take a look back toward Teo Fabi from Paul Tracy's car. And let's go pit side and Jack Arute.
Well, the nature of this course, a temporary road course, should make for a 3-stop race to take on fuel to go the distance. And here's what's interesting about that. The team that's behind me, they service your current leader, Jack Villeneuve. Team Green has had incredible fuel consumption throughout the course of the season. They get as many as 3 laps longer than their competition. One of the reasons why, according to Barry Green, is the handling packages they have come up with. What they are able to do is go with less downforce, creating less drag. Therefore, they need less horsepower to be able to go the same speed as the competition. Less horsepower being generated, less fuel being consumed. And sometimes that can play a critical role. We've seen it here before in Toronto, but we won't know until the onboard telemetry tells us what they'll have to take on for the last stop. But Gary Gerald for Michael Andretti, that onboard telemetry could be a problem.
Well, it's a significant
significant problem. The telemetry brings a wealth of information from the computer on board the car by radio wave into the pits, and they have banks of computers down here that absorb the information, and the crew makes critical decisions. Fuel mileage is certainly one of the most critical. What they don't have now is the service of that telemetry here from Michael Andretti. They're working on it. They're not sure they're going to have it by the time this race ends. So in the meantime, every few laps, Michael will come by. He'll radio his crew, his fuel reading on his dash. They'll try to make the calculations from there. Paul?
Continuing to watch this close fight for sixth. Teo Fabi, Bobby Rahal lined up behind him. Now we come forward as Jimmy Vasser begins to close on the leader, Jack Villeneuve, and Scott Pruitt closes in as well. Here comes Michael, here comes Paul, the rest of the field through. Look at Rahal as he moves back and forth. He's been doing this lap after lap on Teo. Back on board with Rahal.
Rumored split between Rahal and his longtime car owner, Carl Hogan. That's shaking the racing fraternity a bit. They may go their separate ways. They've been together 3.5 years.
Well, actually confirmed by Carl Hogan now, and in fact says he will have a team of his own for next year, and they will go their separate ways at the end of the season. Let's go to Gary.
Well, we talked again this morning with Carl Hogan about this situation. So many rumors about the possible split with he and Bobby Rahal. Carl wanted to make it emphatically known. That split has not occurred at this point. It may happen by the end of the season, but the thing that he wants to report is both he and Rahal will definitely be involved in IndyCar racing in 1996. Who they're associated with, that's what remains to be seen.
Well, right now, Bobby Rahal, very racy. Look at him and Little Al and DeFerrin as they line up behind Teo Fabi. What a great battle this is.
Rahal is...
Whoa, we got a car off. That's Ribeiro.
Ribeiro in the Honda engine car. You see him there. That's that tricky turn at the end of the long straightaway.
I wouldn't want to be sitting there.
I think they can see him as they brake, though, Paul. That's Pedri working his way by. Bachelor. And the others.
Question, of course, is did he keep the engine running and can he get it going again?
Well, he can get some help there. There are a number of course workers. I think the answer is he did not keep the engine running.
It's difficult to do with that 6-speed box, the sequential gearbox now, which is actually 5 forward speeds, but you've got to go down completely through the gears. You can't just grab a gear.
Yeah, so Lynn, what you're saying is you're losing control and you're trying to go not just down to the gear you want, which would be second or first, you got to go through all the gears.
All the sequences.
Yeah.
Fight continues at the front of the field. Brian Herta, first one out with Gary Gerald.
Brian, the disappointment just continues to mount. What happened now? There was contact with Stefan Johansson?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit like a pinball out there, you know. As Stefan moved to the right to block me going into the braking at the end of the straightaway, so I went to the left side, and when he saw me coming up the left side on me, just moved over and put me in the wall. There's nowhere I could go.
Toronto has been a tough place the last couple of years for you, hasn't it?
Well, you know, it's been good to me and it's been bad to me, but, you know, I'm not going to blame it on the racetrack. It wasn't its fault.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks.
Brian Herta, good sense of humor as Andre Ribeiro gets that Honda fired and gets back into the fight. At the front of the field, it is still Jack Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser, and Scott Pruitt. There is Villeneuve. And that battle has spread out for a bit. Let's take a look up track.
The leading two cars there, Villeneuve and Vasser, are both Reynard cars, but they're set up very, very differently. I look at them in the pits this morning. They have different wheelbases, different weight distribution. They're very different. Here comes Rahal taking another look at Bobby.
Boy, this has been a great four-car fight for sixth place right from the green flag. Again, we ride with Bobby Rahal. Look at Little Al as he tries to get down inside him.
Rahal had his best race of the year here in Toronto last year into second place. It was his highest finish of the year, and it looks like he is again the master of this course.
You know what worries me? You catch a glimpse of it on that shot we just had. Little buildup of rubber on the outside of the turn.
Those marbles are going to start building up as the day progresses, obviously, and it's going to make the line much tighter and much cleaner, and some of this dicing around that you see Bobby doing won't be able to get away with.
And it's going to mean they're going to have to be a lot braver.
Lynn, you and Paul, of course, are talking particularly about Detroit a few weeks ago, where at the end of the race there was just one lane open for racing. But recently the officials have decided to try to sweep the course whenever they possibly can when there's an incident. So hopefully it won't come to that. But if it does, it makes what we're looking at now in the early stages where passing is still possible all the more crucial.
Still riding on board Bobby Rahal.
You notice also the pavement changes in the track. That also changes the amount of grip that they get. So as you go from asphalt there to concrete, it really dramatically changes the grip. So the drivers are constantly having to adjust to that. And as those marbles build up, it'll also change the grip. You can see them sitting out there on the outside.
We talked earlier about the trouble area being turn 11 just before the start-finish line, where not only is it fast, incredibly fast, they've also had to do a lot of work on it, Lynn.
Well, they tried to do a repaving actually last night, and it didn't work. So what I found out is they had to take all of that off again and scrub it off and clean it off, and it just didn't take and it didn't work. So they're back to the same turn 11 that they had all weekend.
Newman Haas cars, Michael Andretti and Paul Tracy run 4th and 5th, Gary Gerald.
And our first report on handling characteristics for both Andretti and Tracy. Both are reporting a touch of understeer. They may be having to make changes to the setup when they come in for their first pit stop. But both drivers reporting the same condition. What we don't know is if both cars were set up identically at the start of this race.
Doesn't seem to be affecting performance at all. Fastest lap of the race, bit of a surprise, is Scott Pruitt at 107.6. He turned that on lap number 7. We're on the 15th lap right now. So third place Scott Pruitt, very much a contender here, especially considering that Jacques Villeneuve has traditionally been the fastest car on the circuit, and certainly was a week ago at Road America. 15 laps complete.
Eurosport Live.
Welcome back, and as you can see, we've had a tremendous amount of drama during the break. We've lost not only Al Unser Jr. in this move that you are seeing right now, but also Scott Pruitt has spun out of 3rd place. And Rahal, who's been trying to do that all afternoon, finally did it. But as he did it, he ran over the front of Unser's car, and Unser had nowhere to go but into the wall and out of the race. He's still sitting in the car. It's very doubtful that he's been injured in that accident, because by the time he got to the wall, he wasn't going that fast. But it's done a lot of damage to the left front corner. And also Scott Pruitt, I remind you, has spun out of 3rd place. So the order is Jacques Villeneuve leading from Jimmy Vasser. Then it's Michael Andretti. Then it's Paul Tracy. Then Theo Fabi, Bobby Rahal, Gilles de Ferran and Robbie Gordon. So Jacques Villeneuve looking good at the top of the championship and in the lead of the race. There's a yellow flag out at the moment because of the Al Unser incident. Scott Pruitt, by the way, got going again. So as far as the championship's concerned, Villeneuve's looking good, and so is Bobby Rahal, but Robbie Gordon not so. He lies 2nd in the series, of course, but he's down at the moment in 9th position, and that's Stefan Johansson. That's Stefan Johansson coming thick and fast now, the retirements. I was about to say earlier in the race that everything seemed very settled. Al Unser still sitting in this Penske. I don't know what the problem is, unless one of the suspension arms has gone through the side of the tub there. That is a possibility, although I wouldn't have thought it was that kind of impact. That looks like Pruitt in for new tyres. And there we see the earlier spin. You didn't see it during the break, of course, but that's Scott Pruitt throwing 3rd place away, and now he's coming to pit lane for new tyres. Al Unser still sitting in the Penske. Things have not gone well for him this year. They really haven't, and nor have they. And it looks as though Pruitt's got another problem apart from putting tyres on. A lot of steam and smoke coming out of the back of that car. So everything happening, and little Al getting out now. That's something of a relief. I think he was just sitting there thinking, what do I have to do to win a race or to build up my points in this IndyCar series? Well, he locked right up trying to go down the inside of Bobby Rahal. He locked all 4 wheels up. The cars touched, and by that time he had no steering. The end of Unser's race, and it looks like the end of Scott Pruitt's race. So this, of course, is going to have an effect on the championship. Pruitt 5th in the series at the moment. And those Penskes, neither of them in the top 6, and no sign today of Emerson Fittipaldi. And Stefan Johansson has lost the right rear, as we saw earlier on. The car is dragging along the ground. Heaven knows how that happened, because all these wheels have safety retaining bolts on them, safety retaining pins, and the wheels really ought not to come off like that, even if he had a very rapid and serious puncture. So Stefan Johansson losing many laps now, coming into the pits for a new right rear. So the end of Pruitt's race, the end of Unser's race, but Villeneuve leads serenely from Jimmy Vasser with the Newman Haas cars 3rd and 4th, and we'll be right back after the break.
I know what happened because well, and then when you restarted,
live.
Well, in case you've just joined us here at Toronto, there are 21 laps gone. We're under yellow flags because Al Unser Jr. outbraked himself trying to overtake Bobby Rahal. He locked up all the wheels and slid into the wall after a minor collision with Rahal. That is the big news of the race. Scott Pruitt is out also. At the moment, it's Villeneuve leading from Vassar, Michael Andretti, Maurizio Gugelmin in fourth place. Then it's Raul Boesel. And rounding out the top six, it's Paul Tracy. We're expecting, by the way, a 3-stop race, and obviously some of the leading contenders have taken advantage of this yellow flag period to make their first stop. So, just as the race appeared to be settling down and Villeneuve appeared to be getting away into a fairly comfortable lead, we had chaos reigning, and Stefan Johansson as well into the pits minus a right rear wheel. But both Newman-Haas cars still running. An appalling day for Penske yet again. But Reynard's looking good, and there is Stefan's car being towed in on 3 wheels. He has lost now at least 4 to 5 laps, I would say, because he had to cruise round extremely slowly on 3 wheels. We did not see how it happened, but no doubt we'll find out later. And no rain so far, thank goodness, although the skies still look a little bit threatening over this great street circuit in Toronto. And we've seen some good racing, particularly a great battle between Teo Fabi, Bobby Rahal, Al Jr., who's now out of it, of course, and Gilles de Ferran. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens here in Johansson's pit, whether they can get this car going again. We don't know how much damage was done to the underneath of the car. He had to do almost a complete lap on 3 wheels. But here they are now behind the pace car, must be almost ready to go. It's Villeneuve leading, as you can see, from Jimmy Vassar, Andretti, Gugelmin, Raul Boesel, and in 6th place, Paul Tracy. As we go back now live to Toronto, and Paul Page and Sam Posey.
Full course caution, Michael Andretti currently runs in 3rd place. The first 2 cars, Villeneuve and Vassar, have not yet stopped in the pits. Michael Andretti has made his stop. Now let's get some further updates. Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, finally getting out of his car, the Patrick team driver, Scott Pruitt. And Scott, we documented the fact that a water hose broke at the front of the engine. But this has got to be difficult for you, because what's more important to you than actually winning a race is finishing as many races as possible.
Well, we're in a run for the championship, and you know, every race is important. We were running very, very strong here. Back in Telepoint, we broke. We had the fastest race lap. You know, Patrick guys did a great job. The Firestone tires working good, and you know, Nike Canada jumped on for this race, and we did a great job right up until we fell out of the race, and just a little disappointed we couldn't make it to the end.
When you don't get as much seat time and you have to go back to the Firestone engineers to give them input, especially on a temporary racing facility, where do you dig for the information now?
Well, we got a lot of information over the weekend. We almost made it to the first pit stop, which is, you know, only about 15 laps away. So we have a good baseline, not as good as we would have if we would have ran all race long, but there's some things we'll go back and look at.
Gary?
Jack, just a quick update. We saw Stefan Johansson's problem. As it turned out, on that flurry of pit activity under the yellow, the car dropped prematurely off the jack. They didn't get the right rear secure. He went out, lost it. He limped his way back in. They've made the change. He's now back on the circuit.
All right, we're still under a full course caution here, expecting it to go back green any time now. We might want to tell you that it is our intention to show the interval down of the cars on the leader lap, but right now our computer link is not working properly, and we don't have that information. Paul, look at this. Look at this.
Bring that red flag back out.
Well back before the start-finish line. 7 cars all involved. Cheever, Guerrero, Matsushita, Ribeiro, Johansson, looks like Bachelor, and 1 car that I can't tell. How did this all happen? Unbelievable. Talk about the concrete canyons. This may give us an idea. All moving back and forth, and Salazar gets hit from behind, looks like by Zampedri. Whoa, whoa. Carlos Guerrero flips over the top there, and of course that means a lot of locked brakes.
Over the top of Zampedri.
So that unidentified car is Salazar, and for the time being, no. Now we're back to full course caution once again. So just as they tried to get restarted, this happens at the back of the field. Let's take a look at it again.
Watch the top of your screen. by Guerrero completely, so he should not suffer any head or neck injuries. That was a very scary moment. Can you imagine being in the car, being Zampedri, seeing it get very dark? We talked about clouds coming here, but that was a quick cloud.
Well, and it tells you, too, about how much inertia, how much energy is in these cars, because it looked almost slow motion until Guerrero's car number 22 was caught by the rears of Zampedri's car and literally flipped up into the air. Tremendous energy there. So Zampedri gets a little anxious, it looks like, on that restart and sets off this chain reaction accident involving Zampedri, Salazar, Guerrero, and Bachelard. And on that, Jacques Villeneuve headed into the pits and made his stop. We'll be back.
So yellow flags again here in Toronto, only seconds after taking the green again. And you've seen that many times. You don't need me to explain that all over again, but the guys at the back of the field got very over anxious about taking that restart and simply bunched up, and a chain reaction began. And the car in the foreground there, that of the Mexican Carlos Guerrero, is obviously not going any further, and nor I think is Zampedri, and possibly not Salazar. But anyway, 3 cars now out of the race and blocking the circuit. There is oil and water on the road, and there are bits and pieces all over the place. We may expect a puncture as well after this, I would think, and we'll see it yet again. And this, of course, is in slow motion. They're just about to pick up the green flag, and you can see that Salazar gets hit heftily up the rear by Guerrero. Zampedri's in there as well, and now comes the flying Mexican. Well, we didn't see the rest of that, but we have seen it before, and we know what happens. We're riding now with Bobby Rahal, who is lying in a very handy 7th position at the moment. We've had the first round of pit stops, although neither Villeneuve nor Vasseur, the guys lying 1st and 2nd in the race after 25 laps, have been into the pits. Michael Andretti has been in. In 4th place behind that leading trio is Maurizio Gugelmin. Then it's Raul Boesel and Paul Tracy rounds out the top 6. Bobby Rahal right behind him in 7th. Then it's Teo Fabi, and then 10th position is Gilles de Ferran. And this yellow flag situation is going to go on for some time to come. It looks like motorway maintenance out there at the moment. There are 4 or 5 tow trucks, 3 racing cars to be picked up, people everywhere, oil everywhere, water, sawdust, cement, bits and pieces of racing cars. This race really did not need that. It was just looked as though it was going to settle down again into a great battle, because it's very close at the front. Villeneuve is not leading by much from Jimmy Vasseur, and many of us rate Jimmy Vasseur very highly. Here comes the pace car, threading its way extremely carefully through this single lane here. And it looks as though Jacques Villeneuve may have taken advantage of this yellow to pit, because that was Michael Andretti leading them round. We'll find that out in just a moment. That would not be surprising with 25 laps gone in a 3-stop race if Villeneuve had decided to pit during this yellow. There's Gilles de Ferran, there's Christian Fittipaldi, there's Raul Boesel, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Back at the Molson Indy Toronto, Michael Andretti has assumed the lead on pit stops. We're still under a full course caution. And let's go back to the previous full course caution. Gary Gerold's with Al Unser Jr.
Now, 2 weeks in a row, it's an early out, and both times involving contact, this time with Bobby Rahal. Tell us how it's set up from your view.
Well, we were trying Bobby on the inside, and really I kind of missed on my gears, and so at the last quarter of the straightaway, I'm on my rev limiter, and I just didn't have enough to go up in there, and laps prior he was leaving a little bit of hole because he kept trying Teo, and you know the train reaction would happen, and I tried to go up into a hole that wasn't there, and I locked him up, and I ran in the back of him.
Does this really seal it as far as your hopes of repeating a championship, or you still got enough time you feel you can make a run at this deal?
Well, you know, sure, we got plenty of time to make a run at it. There's a lot of points available, but you know, it makes it very slim, really, and so you know, we'll just see how they do today. If the guys behind win and so on, then it'll look better. But
give us a quick idea of the track conditions, and we know there was concern on the kink here at turn 11 after the repairs they tried to make overnight. What was the feel of this racetrack?
The feel was really good. The track was good. You know, as long as the rain stays away, it's going to be great. You know, the track was a little bit quicker than what we had thought of, and so you know, that's why we were a little bit short on our gears and everything. So
Well, this emotional roller coaster is taking another nosedive. Thank you, Junior.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Jack.
Well, Gary, this caution is a good break for Team Green and your leader, Jack Villeneuve, because just before and in that last caution, they were extremely upset with IndyCar officials. I asked Barry Green about it. You were upset because you didn't feel you had enough time after the pack up to pit?
Well, Jack, it's very clear on a road course we should be given the opportunity to pit. We're the leader. They should key the full course yellow off us, and we're very upset right now because IndyCar need to pay a little more attention to that. This is big business right now, and we can't afford. Now we're stuck in 5th position, and only by great pit work here on the players team did we are we still in 5th position.
Now, the other question, though, is also we understand that there might be a slight problem with Jack's helmet, and that in all of that pit stop strategy back and forth, trying to come in, maybe fell out of sequence, and you weren't able to repair the helmet problem that he was complaining about.
Well, it's not a major problem. The cables for the radio come a little bit loose, and we were going to tape them up, but it was so important to maintain a good track position there that we couldn't mess around with that. We had to get him back on the racetrack. I don't think that's a big problem.
But Lynn St. James, as you know, having sat in the cockpit of one of these, composure is so very important, and knowing that maybe a connection there for your radio isn't actually taped down properly, well, you could think about it a couple of times, couldn't you?
Yeah, but not really. You've got to race and not worry about stuff like that.
Cars involved in that crash, but take a look at Salazar. They're trying to get him going once again. Let's just remind you that now under the yellow, it's Michael Andretti, followed by Mauricio Gugelmin, who has not yet made his pit stop, the only one who has not. Now, next Sunday, the IndyCar action will continue in Cleveland. Last year's winner, Al Unser Jr., battles a marvelous field of drivers on the shores of Lake Erie at the Cleveland IndyCar Grand Prix. That's next Sunday here at 3 Eastern, 2 Central. But don't forget, we're going to be going on here on ABC from there to the Michigan 500, and then to Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400, and at Mid-Ohio, at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. All that racing coming up here on ABC Sports. So still under the full course caution, this is the 4th place car, Bobby Rahal, as they begin to compress that field and hopefully can go green shortly. In the meantime, let us go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you alluded to the fact that Bobby Rahal has been running so very strong. In fact, he has radioed into his crew that that is indeed the case. The frustrating thing, though, for Rahal has been track position. He's running strong, but not strong enough to overcome in some of the difficult passing areas on the racetrack. He was complaining most loudly about the combustion engineering car for Teo Fabi, but he was able to get by Fabi during all of this. He is currently shown in a podium position, but he has told the team no changes on the car. I'm extremely happy with the way it's handling. Let's check in with Gary Gerald.
Well, it's busy on pit road. Here's one of those that was involved in that wild melee as they came down to get a green flag. Eric Bachelard, you're obviously physically all right. What did it look like from where you were, and how did this all unfold?
I think there was a blind corner, and so right after that corner, all the pack slowed down a lot, almost stopped. So we were a bit surprised, you know, at the back of the field. And so I braked, went into the right, and I don't know, suddenly the car went sideways. I hit the wall. I don't know why. I don't know if somebody hit me from behind. I'd like to see on the tape, because really it was a kind of a surprise, because we were going so slow, and it was kind of spectacular, because then I could see Guerrero flying all over my teammate. And so, fortunately, everybody's okay. Nobody's hurt, so that's the main thing. But it's a shame. We're running pretty well, and so both cars from my team, you know, the Peyton Turn Racing, are out of the race. So it's kind of a shame.
Well, a surprise of the worst nature, but we're happy you're all right. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Paul?
And it could, in fact, then be compression that happened in front of the videotape that we have, but it sure gave Carlos Guerrero a spectacular ride. And the good news is that no one was injured in this particular incident, bringing out our second full course yellow of the day. A lot of work for the record crews here. Right now, it's Michael Andretti that is our leader, 28 laps complete. We're under the full course yellow.
Sport Live.
You're watching the IndyCar Series live from Toronto. We've been racing for 45 minutes now, but only covered 29 laps. There's Michael Andretti. He leads the race, having been into the pits. Second is Mauricio Gugelmin. Third is Paul Tracy. Fourth is Rahal, fifth is Villeneuve, and sixth is Vassar.
The thing is that the guys at the front go fast and then slow down to make like a chain reaction. The problem is in a blank track, you never know where are they going to stop. So I already lost a little bit of space, so I was trying to catch them up. So when I come out of that right turn, blind turn, I saw Greco was sideways and Samperi was starting hitting Salazar, and everybody was in the cars on the road. I couldn't brake, and I jumped over everybody, and that's the end.
At least you landed all right, and you're okay. Thank you so much. Let's swing over to Alessandro Zampedri. You were involved also. What was the view from your cockpit?
Basically, when I turned right in the blind corner, I saw my teammate car, Eric Bachelor's car, sideways in the track, close to the wall, backwards on the right side, and another car was in front of him. And Salazar in front of me just locked the wheels and braked. We were pretty close, and I locked too, but I couldn't miss him. So I hit him in the back, and that was it. But then after 2 seconds, I heard somebody hit me on the back very, very hard and just run over me, and that was Carlos. So I think, except for the guy that really caused the accident, there was nothing to do for us. I mean, it's a very blind corner, so you have no idea what can happen there.
All right, we're back racing. Thank you, Alessandro.
It's ready to come to an end because he leads the field back. The previous leader, Jack Villeneuve, sits back in 5th place right now, and in 2nd place is Mauricio Gugelmin. Now look here, who are 2 cars directly in contest? On the top of your screen is Tracy, who currently runs in 3rd place. The bottom of the screen is Rahal, who is, well, in right place at the right time for us, not for Paul Tracy. Now he's got the engine going. As soon as the field gets past, he should be able to get it around and get back in the competition, but he was 3rd, fighting with Rahal.
Tracy is traditionally so ambitious on these restarts. This time it may have gotten him in some trouble.
Now, Lynn, back in that, well, let's look at the replay first. There is Tracy as he gets caught up trying to get around Gugelmin.
Well, Gugelmin was trying to make a pass. Yeah, I think Gugelmin was really trying to make a pass there, I think, and come in. Because Gugelmin was running 2nd and Tracy was 3rd.
Gugelmin was going for the lead on Michael.
Sorry.
Gugelmin's down to the inside there, or does that quick, look at that.
Yeah. But, you know, that's...
Let's take a look at it from the onboard camera on Michael's car, on Tracy's car, excuse me.
That's Michael.
Just Tracy, yes, the black.
You could see Tracy coming together with Gugelmin.
I hate to say it, but I'm also thinking of Tracy having to use that left foot a lot. He had to use the clutch a lot there, because you don't use the clutch that much when you're driving, regular green laps. But boy, just to be able to get the car turned around, you had to do a lot of left footing.
Clutch in there.
Successfully got it done, though. It had to hurt. So we'll keep an eye on Paul Tracy as he starts to make his move back through the field. You see how it changes things here at the front.
You know, everybody's advantages works to somebody else's disadvantages, but here Michael's back leading, as you mentioned, and this is the 7th race that he has led in Toronto in the 9 starts that he's had. And, you know, Michael's in the position that Michael is used to being in, out front, commanding a racetrack, and I think you're going to see maybe he's going to settle in here.
And he's led, of course, all but 2 of the races so far this year, the last 2. So this is a resumption of the beginning of the season where he'd be out front all through the car with some kind of mechanical problem, but carrying on in the lead.
Michael Andretti continues to lead Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, one of the things that we've seen with the Goodyear Firestone tire battle is the fact that at some racetracks, the rubber actually begins to build up in what they call little tiny balls out on the outsides of the groove. Remember at Detroit we had that problem. Well, Michael Andretti has radioed in that seems to be the case is what's happening here in some of the critical corners. He's a little bit concerned about the rough stuff that may be being thrown off of the tires. He's out front right now, but boy, if we begin to see that happen over and over again and they're not able to sweep the track under full course yellows, it could create some problems.
Well, Jack, Lynn alluded to that exact situation in her opening comment where that it might become a one-track groove. If it did, the pit stops would be all the more crucial. I think we're going to see that with you guys down there.
Well, Sam, that's exactly what has got the Villeneuve team so upset.
Yeah.
Not the second caution that came out, the full course, that was a benefit to them. But they were upset about some of the problems that occurred with the first full course yellow. They felt that IndyCar had not reacted choice but to bring out the second full course yellow. But now they've radioed to their crew, make sure, Jack, that you try and stay in touch with the leader. Track positioning is going to be so critical.
And Michael is just building that lead. It's now 3 seconds. He's just building it. He's chipping it away at about a half a second a lap. But at the same time, I was looking at the course, is that Jacques is also capable of turning those speeds, but he's kind of locked back there. He's not going to be able to make a move necessarily. But Michael's pulling away.
Now currently we're watching Mauricio Guzman running in second place. But Gary Gerald, it's been 34 laps since he's been into the pits.
And they are thinking and hoping, because they've radioed in, and Mo radioed in, he doesn't think there's any damage to the car after that contact. He thinks it's all right. They're hoping to stay out and go to lap 40 for their projected first pit stop. Now, of course, if they get a yellow flag between now and then, the gamble will have paid off. If they have to pit under green, all that position that he gained will then, of course, be lost. So they're still rolling it here, but they've still got 5 or 6 laps before that number 40 comes up.
And you called Mauricio Mo. In fact, that's what the Pac West team calls him, Big Mo. And he is big, strong, and fast.
Well, he is also very good at this type of track, these temporary street courses. As you see Ray Hall menacing him from behind, Big Mo is third in terms of the points scored on this type of track, behind Pruitt and Al Unser Jr. So he is a master of this, and it's because of his background in Formula One, where they race often on tracks like this.
But he's slowing this group down right now. His fastest lap today has still only been 105.9, and that whole group of Ray Hall and Villeneuve and Vassar, he's slowing them down. So, and you know, knowing that he's got to come in and make that pit stop, I don't think Rob Ray Hall will take a risk. At the same time, he's slowing them down. And let Michael pull away.
He's slower by nearly 2 miles an hour than some of the faster cars on the course. And there comes Villeneuve as he's closing in as well, as is Jimmy Vassar sitting just behind him. So this is the fight on the course. We'll keep track of it as we have some computer link back now from EDS. I want to thank them, and we can go through the running order with the intervals.
This is a gift to Villeneuve because it's enabling him to close up on Ray Hall and perhaps make a move on him under braking. You see Villeneuve in the blue car pursuing Ray Hall in the black car. Look for a possibility of Villeneuve trying to outbrake Ray Hall.
So 17 cars on the leader lap, and one chain reaction accident. One omission as a result of problems with the cooling line on Scott Pruitt's engine, and then of course an impact with the wall after contact with Bobby Rahal for Al Unser Jr. takes him out. So now you ride once again with that third place car. Just ahead is Guzman, who anytime, well, about 3 laps, we should see a stop by this second place car, and as suggested, the question is whether or not there will be another interruption in the action for a full course yellow. Right now it certainly doesn't appear to be a possibility. The leader, Michael Andretti, running at 107.3 miles an hour, his fastest lap thus far. So now 37 laps complete into the run here in the Molson Indy Toronto. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
So 36 laps gone then, and Michael Andretti is pulling away in the lead because of this. This is Bobby Rahal following Maurizio Gugelmin, and Gugelmin is holding up Rahal, he's holding up Villeneuve, and he's holding up Vassar. And you can watch it for yourselves. Maurizio Gugelmin has done 38 laps, but he has not been into the pits. Bobby Rahal has been in, he's on fresher tyres, and Maurizio Gugelmin is doing what could best be described as an excellent defensive job. I don't think Rahal would agree. He's already shaken his fists at him once going down the straight. He hasn't got a lot of time for fist shaking around the twisty bits, but you can see that Villeneuve, Vassar and Fabi are all catching up with Rahal because Rahal is being held up behind Gugelmin, and another result of that is that Andretti is extending his lead. Rahal having a look, but he can't do it there. There just isn't room. The braking area just isn't long enough, and there's a wall very close on the outside. Through went DeFerrin, through goes Christian Fittipaldi. They're 7th and 8th at the moment. And 9th is Robbie Gordon, the main championship contender, apart from Jacques Villeneuve, of course, down in 9th position. We've seen absolutely nothing of Emerson Fittipaldi. Al Unser is out, Scott Pruitt is out, and Brian Herter is out. So a lot of yellow flag racing, but now we're underway again, and let's hope we can keep this rhythm up, because I think we're going to see some very exciting racing once Maurizio Gugelmin has gone into the pits, which he really must do in the next 3 to 4 laps. And that is one mighty corner, that left-hander past the pits, extremely quick, 160 miles an hour. You can see it's pretty bumpy. And look at this, they really are now bunching up behind Gugelmin. They were talking now, just now, the Americans, about his Formula One experience, but I don't think this is something you particularly learn in Formula One. He just knows that if he's got to keep these guys behind him if he possibly can, because he knows he's got to go into the pits. And I guess if he was back in Formula One, he'd have a bit more pit stop experience after a couple of years in IndyCar, because it is, of course, totally crucial in IndyCar, the pit work. You try and pit under yellow flags for obvious reasons, for tyres and fuel. But look at this, there seems to be nothing they can do about Gugelmin, and Villeneuve really now is bearing down on Bobby Rahal. And Rahal will be very upset about this, especially as Andretti is getting away in the lead. And by the way, if you're wondering what happened to Paul Tracy, he's dropped right out of the top 10 because he lost it in a completely mad move trying to pass Gugelmin and Andretti. As we go back now to Paul Page and Sam Posey.
Back at the Molson Indy Toronto, Andre Ribeiro just turned the fastest lap of the race at 108 miles an hour flat. Unfortunately, he's a lap off of the lead. Here is the interval leaderboard with Michael Andretti a full 5, almost 6 seconds ahead of Mauricio Gugelmin, who they now say may be able to go yet another 3 laps before they actually make a stop on that car. Now, in 9th place is this car, Robbie Gordon. We'll take a lap with him, Lynn.
Fascinating buildings all around it. One where you can go see horses, the Horse Palace, where they have dressage, places where they have horticulture and food and so forth.
Mauricio Gugelmin anytime should be in for his stop. And the key is, of course, going to be the move of the cars behind him, Rahal, Villeneuve, Vassar. There they are. Gugelmin now moves toward the edge and drops into the pits. So Mauricio Gugelmin makes his first stop of the day, Gary Gerald.
And just a half lap back, they asked him on the radio. They said, Mo, do you want any changes? He waved them off, said no. So he's in for a cool drink. It'll be fresh Goodyears, a complement of fuel, and we'll see how many position he loses in the process. We're at 12 seconds and counting. 14, and he's rolling. 14.9 is the time.
So Mauricio Gugelmin in and out. One car in trouble. But the rest of the field is able to get on through.
I just wanted to tell you, it was so amazing to see. As soon as Gugelmin came in, Rahal pulled away, Villeneuve pulled away. I mean, it was like they had to be so happy that he finally came in the pit.
Lynn, at the moment that Gugelmin made that stop, Michael Andretti was 8.98 seconds, about 9 seconds ahead. That was almost a freebie over the field because Mauricio was holding him up. It'd be very interesting to see. That was a critical part of the race, and when we think back over the events of the race, those 10 laps may very well be the story of the race. You know what I mean, Paul? That's a big lead.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is what Barry Green was talking about, because he wanted his man, Villeneuve, to have been up front ahead of Gougelman, and he would have been if everything had gone right.
Rahaal's already picked up a second of that lead. He's cut it down to 7. So even if he's turning the same exact lap times, it would be hard to, cut it down. He would hold it, but he is going to be really pushing now. So
well, you see Michael here, of course, he's in heavy traffic, too, so he's losing a big chunk of that. He's behind Hiro Matsushita. And you already saw him shake his fist. Hiro has a reputation for being slow on the track and not noticing the people behind him. There he is. You see, I mean, this is the kind of thing that drives Michael Andretti out of his mind. There, Hiro saw him and he's through.
So Michael is clear.
But how much did he lose? At least a second,
At least a second, if not more. Michael Andretti comes back up to full speed. It doesn't appear that there is much traffic ahead of him now. Bobby Rahal, Jacques Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser, and Teo Fabi round out the top 5, and they'll have to catch
his lead, right, Lynn? Down to 5 seconds.
But Rahal just turned the fastest lap of the race, 108.2 miles an hour. So he is gaining some speed there, not just traffic that's causing him to gain.
There he comes. Now he's in the same picture. There's Rahal with Hiro Matsushita between them. It'll be interesting to see. There's Villeneuve in the blue and white car. And, of course, Vasser in the red and black, and then Fabi in the orange and white.
DeFerrin, Christian Fittipaldi, Robbie Gordon, Raul Boesel, and Danny Sullivan. So that's all of them through the field now. And Michael Andretti still leading, but Rahal is beginning to whittle away on that lead. Rahal really seems to like this track and perform so well here. Now, what about what's going on in the pits with Bobby Rahal? Jack Arute?
Well, Paul, let's ask his Carl Hogan. Carl, looks like once he got the green light, the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, well, actually, we've been held up twice now. I mean, nothing against anyone else, but we have been held up. And Bobby's got a real fast car, and everything's going well. And now that he's got a clear shot, now we're going to go after Michael.
Now, what about fuel consumption? When you're running heavy traffic like that, how does that affect the fuel situation?
It's a little tough on the fuel right now. It's a little close. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Well, of course, Jack, the reason that Bobby was able to go so fast suddenly there was when he was held up, he cooled his tires down. So he got a jump when Mauricio went out of the way.
Well, Michael Andretti leads it, but Rahal's taken 3, almost 4 seconds off of that lead. In third place, Jacques Villeneuve and Jimmy Vasser. You just got a view of Jimmy as he tries to close in. And I suspect the front of this field will be climbing down on Michael Andretti fairly quickly. 46 laps complete.
So the excitement here at Toronto is very much, can Bobby Rahal catch Michael Andretti? Well, we've seen Mike Andretti out in the lead several times this season, only to put it into the wall or into the fence or into another car. Andretti badly needs the confidence of winning this race, but of course Rahal needs to win it because he is second at the moment in the championship behind Jacques Villeneuve. He's only 22 points behind him. And a win here at Toronto would do Rahal a very great deal of good in this Lola Mercedes. Lola would like the win too. At the moment, they're running first and second. Mike Andretti in the Newman Haas car with the Ford engine. And Bobby Rahal running second in the Rahal Hogan entry with the Mercedes engine. Third is Jacques Villeneuve in the Ford engine Reynard. And we're right now with Mike Andretti. He's coming up to some more traffic. He got safely past Hiro Matsushita. I don't know about you, but I was holding my breath for that half lap because Matsushita isn't somebody we've come to expect to look in his mirrors very often, but he saw Andretti and let him through safely eventually after a bit of fist waving, and we've seen quite a bit of fist waving this evening with people frustrated after running a long time under yellows and then not being able to get going racing again. Maurizio Gugelmin, by the way, into and out of the pits and now running outside the top 10 after that first stop. About 47 laps gone, very nearly half distance now, 98 lap race. And Andretti looking very secure at the moment, about 5.5 seconds in the lead from Rahal, Villeneuve, and then it's Jimmy Vasser, Teo Fabi, Gilles DeFerrin. Christian Fittipaldi is 8th, Robbie Gordon is 9th, the other championship contender. Father Mario watching again, where it's a familiar sight, weekends now. And let's hope Mario has something to smile about today, because he's looked pretty dumbstruck last weekend in Road America when Michael threw it all away in a collision with Al Unser Jr. Al Unser out of the race, by the way, after breaking himself into the wall. So an interesting one for the championship here in Toronto, and at this point in the season it really matters what team you're with, because there's a race every single weekend, one after the other. Every Sunday in July there is a race, with all the travelling in between, all the setting up, all the preparation. So it's going to be a good team who consistently does well in these 4 or 5 races. Michael Andretti is through this particular bit of traffic, but Jacques Villeneuve and Jimmy Vasser are not. They're stuck behind Buddy Lazier, I think it is. And it could take them some time to get through here. Buddy Lazier is going to have to move over and let them through. There aren't that many overtaking points, even with the speed differential of Jacques Villeneuve and Buddy Lazier. And it says no touch. Let's hope they don't. Look at Jimmy Vasser right with Villeneuve now, and so is Theo Fabi, and so is Gilles de Ferran. This is one hell of a battle. Whoops! And I think Buddy Lazier thought there were only 2 cars going by, when in fact there were at least 4 going by him. Anyway, he'd do well just to slow up a bit and let this lot through, because this really is the battle of the race. They're all chasing Rahal and Andretti, but they're all having their own battle. Villeneuve got slightly the better of that. Jimmy Vasser had to lift. He wasn't sure what Lazier was going to do. So half distance now at Toronto as we go back to Paul Page and Sam Posey.
This is the fight on the circuit right now. Coverage, by the way, here. Whoa, as Fittipaldi, Christian Fittipaldi, wiggles it back and forth under braking, almost loses it. Marco Greco looks like he's got a problem with the left front, makes it into the pit safely. Going to say the coverage here is brought to you by CBC Television of Canada.
That's the car we caught sight of moving slowly, was Marco Greco. There's Ray Hall.
Let's go pit side. Gary Gerald.
We've got a couple of updates here now. Hand calculators still being used by the Newman-Haas crew relating to the leader, Michael Andretti. They did not get that telemetry fixed. So again, every few laps he comes by gives them manually what he views on his dash, a reading. We wondered about track temperatures. We talked so much about weather. The track temperature Friday was 130 at its maximum. 131 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday. They started the race today, Paul, at 107 degrees. And at last reading just 2 minutes ago, it was only up 1 degree at 108. What a difference the overcast makes, even though it's still hot and sticky down here.
Well, the cloud cover makes a world of difference to the track temperature, not so much from the ambient. Also, for the moment, it looks like that there's going to be no rain figuring into this race. At the start of the show, we suggested it might be, but while it's overcast, it looks fairly clear.
Yeah, the people that would have benefited the most from rain, de Ferran and Christian Fittipaldi, are lying 6th and 7th. They're running well. Gary, it was interesting with those calculators out. Have you seen Apollo 13? It's kind of like going back to the old-fashioned way of doing business here.
Let's go back to Adrian Fernandez, 11th place. And Lynn, here you get a real good look at the suspension travel in the rear.
Yeah, you can really see the rear working, and as it moves up and down, and how much travel it is. And this track, the drivers and everybody are complaining how bumpy it is. You can see there as it went through a bump, and it's so hard to get the setup right here where you have enough of suppleness, enough clearance to be able to hit all the bumps at the same time, to have a chassis as stiff as you want to be able to go as fast as it'll go. So a lot of bumpiness. And I was also watching when we had that in-car camera with Michael, how much the wheel just feels like it's going to jerk right out of your hand. And in a super smooth track like the Speedway, you just think left and the thing turns left. And
just
here, if
off
you watch
of Lake
your
Shore,
hands, you'll see that right there. I mean, he's not turning the wheel doing that. That's just vibration, literally feedback, kickback coming through the wheel. It's making that, just jerk like it's going to jerk right out of their hands. So,
Lynn, do you wind up with sore wrists and stuff at the end of the race?
Well, not so much the wrist, but your whole grip, really is. You get actual blisters and all of that, and it's almost like you can't release your hand from the wheel because you have to hang on to it so tightly, but at the same time, obviously not so too tightly so that it doesn't jerk it out.
Still, you'd rather be down there, wouldn't you, than watching it from up here?
You got it. Oh, look at that. When he hits that turn 11 bump, I mean, it literally feels like the car's going to go left, right.
What is the satisfaction of driving? I mean, it looks brutally hard. In your words, I have my own ideas, but why is this such a great thing to be doing?
Well, just challenges every part of your being. I mean, it's the physical, the mental, you park the emotion, you absorb, you know, instead of us having our barrier be our body extension, it now is fully extends to the whole car. So it challenges every part of your being, and you don't even think about the pain that Tracy feels in his foot. You don't think about the fact that the wheel's ready to pull out of your hand, or that you're getting beaten to death by the chassis. You're just making that car go as fast as you can, and challenging yourself and your crew and everything, every part of your being to get the best there is to be gotten at that moment, which I hope is better than everybody else.
Leaving Fernandez as he passes the stadium now, coming back to the leader, Michael Andretti. 2.5 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal, who just upped the ante again, turned a lap at 108.5 miles an hour. The fastest lap thus far. Back to the pits, Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, let's update you. We told you about Bobby Rahal trying to chase down the leader, Michael Andretti. Well, what about Jack Villeneuve, who was the early leader and was so fast in qualifying? Well, the only thing that they're concerned about right now is staying within sight of Michael Andretti. They feel so strongly about their prowess, Team Green, on pit stops. They feel they can pick up the 1 to 1.5 seconds that they will need to overcome the leader. We've seen so many times in the last couple of races that the race is won on pit road. This team feels like they may have a good shot. They still have one stop to go where they can try and overcome Michael Andretti's lead. Let's check in with Gary Gerald.
Teo Fabi runs solidly in 5th place. The first part of the race for Teo and his crew was not a particularly good one. They were having some difficulties with the pop-off valve that controls the amount of air that's forced into the engine to create the valuable horsepower. It has now settled down. They say it's working fine at this point. They're settled into a 5th place, but they were disappointed that they had that problem early.
Back to that battle between Michael Andretti and Rahal. Russ Thompson, our statistician here in the booth, has been tracking that battle. On lap 42, Rahal was 8 seconds back. We've just completed the 55th lap. He is only 2 seconds back, so he is really whittling away at Michael Andretti's lead and been turning some just incredible laps while he does that.
But let's not lose the significance of the situation, which is that Mauricio Gugelmin is in the way again. There's Vassar locking it up, fighting for control. That is a beautiful piece of work. A lot of the drivers have their cars set up in such a way with a lot of what's called negative camber, the tires tipping in a lot at the front, that gives them trouble. It's good for tight turns. I'll get into that in a second, but it makes it very hard for them to brake for these hairpins.
Another thing is that on a street course like this, is you always want a little more rear brake so that you're always sure to be able to turn it into the corner, but you get a little too much rear brake, and as the chassis gets lighter, as you get fuel goes away, then you can sometimes lock those rears up.
We do want to keep an eye on Vassar, because about 3 turns ago we saw a bit of a spray at the back of the car. Now that could have been dust that he picked up close to the wall. It could also be a precursor to some problem in the engine compartment, so we'll keep an eye on him.
Vassar is under just an awful lot of pressure right now, but there's nobody cooler this season. Vassar has come up through the ranks, from sprint cars to Formula Fords to Atlantics, you name it. He's driven them all, and he's won in all the different categories, and he's taken his success in Indy cars this year with his first big win, of course, at Portland, very much in stride. He's a very calm, pragmatic man. But you'll see it here. I would be surprised if he made a mistake under this pressure.
Well, Michael Andretti has just turned the fastest lap in the race, up to 108.7, as Joe Montana looks on with his wife Jennifer and watches Michael Andretti lead here.
Sport Live.
54 laps gone here in Toronto, and this is the battle of the race. Jimmy Vassar, Teo Fabi and Gilles de Ferran. But just to remind you, the leader is this man, Michael Andretti, by about 3 seconds from Bobby Rahal, Jacques Villeneuve, Jimmy Vassar, Teo Fabi, Gilles de Ferran, Christian Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon. And Michael Andretti coming up yet again behind the back markers. That's Buddy Lazier, and picking up a little bit more time over Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal now the man who's got to get past these very slow back markers, and for the last 20-odd minutes Rahal has been working very, very hard to try and get that Mercedes-powered Lola up with Michael Andretti in the Ford-powered Lola. And Michael Andretti keeping very calm at the moment. We've seen him do some peculiar things under pressure this season, but right now, with half distance gone, he looks reasonably secure in the lead, although every time Bobby Rahal has a completely clear track, it appears that he can catch Andretti. And look at that. As soon as he gets past the back marker, he already appears to visibly catch up with Andretti. And of course, we've got pit stops coming up. A 3-stop race this. We've had the first lot, and we're due any time now for the second round of pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see what Newman Haas do compared to Rahal Hogan. And that's Robbie Gordon in the pits, the man who lies second in the championship at the moment. And he is currently lying in 8th position here in Toronto. So a rather low-key race, 2 weekends running as Robbie Gordon power slides it out of pit lane. I shouldn't think he's a very happy man today. He certainly wasn't last weekend. He needs a lot more points than this, as Michael Andretti leads round yet again through that fantastic left-hander past the pits. And here's Vassar with Fabi and De Ferran holding a watching brief. De Ferran may come out the best of this, because so often on a street circuit we see one of these very close battles end in tears and end in the wall, as Gilles De Ferran brings the Reynard, the Jim Hall Reynard, down pit lane for his second stop for fuel and tyres. So any minute now, any second now maybe, we'll expect these two leaders, Andretti and Rahal, to come in. And the race beginning to take it. So, whoa, Mike Andretti sliding it out of that quick right-hander. If you get onto these bits of rubber that you can see on the edge of the circuit, he'll be in big, big trouble. A good clean stop for De Ferran, back out into the race, but obviously losing his 6th position. The weather holding off, a good dry race so far, and it looks like Andretti in. Yes, it's Andretti in the leading Newman Haas Lola. And they've lost radio communications, by the way, with Mike Andretti. So they have to having to use a stopwatch. It must be a long time since they used one of those. And Rahal's in at the same time, so this will be exciting. Who can win the pit stop battle? Will it be Newman Haas with Andretti, or Rahal Hogan with Bobby Rahal himself in the Lola Merc? Andretti's away a good... Oh, and Rahal losing time. Rahal losing precious time in the pits there. Although in fact I think he'll come out roughly the same behind. Maybe he lost about a second and a bit there, Bobby Rahal, but plenty of laps to go as we go back now to Paul Page and Sam Posey in Toronto.
And he should have several laps, maybe as many as 10 or 15 before he has to stop.
Well, and this is where the crucial tactics comes in, because Villeneuve is now running light. He's near the end of his fuel load. He will be very, very fast compared to the just refueled cars of Andretti and Rahal. So this is a chance for Villeneuve to pour it on and to pull away decisively.
He has to do that, actually, because, you know, making up for that time that he has to make a pit stop.
Go to the pits, Gary.
And Paul Tracy gets away, and there's no problem. Remember the concern with that injured and broken left foot when he had to drop the clutch. Pit stops really hurt him the first time round last week at Elkhart. This time, no problem.
Well, here's a bit of a surprise as Villeneuve comes in, Jack.
Well, let's take a look at Jack Villeneuve. We alluded to the fact that Team Green thinks that they are one of the quickest pit stoppers in all of IndyCar racing. What are the reasons? Most of them have been together for 3 years. It's a choreographed, and you wouldn't believe it. Once the tires are on, they tap the gas man. They are waiting for fuel. This is what is taking so much longer. And they give him the signal. He has no pitch to go out of. He is on the last one. He's back on the track.
And he has to be careful not to get 4 wheels over that yellow line on the pit exit. That will cost him a stop-and-go penalty. Obviously, he did not. They made some change to the front wings of his car, and that splash of fluid at the last that you saw there is simply water to dilute any methanol that might have dripped out during the refueling process on the side of the car. It just dilutes it, and there is no worry of fire. Now, Christian Fittipaldi has just received the black flag for a pit violation, so he will get a stop-and-go penalty. He currently runs in 10th place.
That pit stop for Jacques Villeneuve was 14.5 seconds, which is very good. I happened to do some inquiries and found out to put an absolute full load of fuel in, no other change, it only takes about 10 to 13 seconds, depending on which team is doing it and all that. So it was certainly quick, but probably they would have liked that to have been a little quicker.
Interesting number. All of the fuel flow is gravity feed. So toward the end of a race, when there's less fuel in the tank, it takes a little bit longer for the fuel to flow down into the car. 40 gallons of fuel transferred from an empty car to a full car.
Remember Australia earlier in the year with Michael Andretti in the latter stages of the race being pursued by this man, Bobby Rahal, in his black and yellow car. At that point, Rahal was able to pressure Andretti into braking too late for the next to last turn. Michael went off, and Rahal went through to claim second place. So I'm sure that is in the minds, that incident is in the minds of both these drivers.
So here is our order after the stops. One indication, too, is remember when you're talking the transfer of 40 gallons of fuel, you're talking over 280 pounds. So when they talk about the handling differences of a car before and after a stop, there's a substantial change in weight on that car. Danny Sullivan being brought into the pits under tow. You saw the IndyCar safety vehicles out on the course a few moments ago. This was the reason. So Danny Sullivan has lost considerable position and fell to 19th place with that tow in. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Michael Andretti leads from Bobby Rahal, Jacques Villeneuve and Jimmy Vasser. In fifth position, it's Teo Fabi, and rounding out the top six, it's Gilles de Ferran in the Reynard. So at the moment, it's Lola's flying first and second. That's Andretti, our leader, in the Ford-powered Lola run by Newman Haas, the best race they've had for some time. Paul Tracy's way back down the field after throwing away third place when he tried to outrate both the people in front of him into that tricky, slow right-hander. So how will Michael Andretti deal with this pressure? Sometimes he does crack under pressure, but Bobby Rahal hardly ever does, and there he goes. He's got Buddy Lazier. That's the mobile chicane of this race. Buddy Lazier in the blue car there with no touch written on the rear wing. And Rahal now, next man up, has got to get through Buddy Lazier as fast as he possibly can to stay in touch with Mike Andretti, our leader. A good race for Jimmy Vasser and Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve will, whoops, Lazier nearly lost it. He must have lost his concentration with all these cars rushing past him, but everybody safely through. We're with Bobby Rahal at the moment, the man who looks least like a racing driver I think I've ever seen. But my goodness me, he's a great driver in IndyCar, Rahal. He's so experienced as Andre Ribeiro leaves pit lane in the Honda-powered Reynard. Honda beginning to get on terms now in IndyCar, and so are Firestone, and we hear that Toyota are coming in, possibly run by Dan Gurney. So very healthy at the moment in IndyCar, apart from, of course, this split that is going to happen next season. But we're not going to talk about that now, because that story is going to run and run and run as we watch Jacques Villeneuve in that beautifully turned out Team Green Reynard Ford, the man who won last weekend, the man who's leading the championship with 103 points compared to Robbie Gordon's 81. Here's Mike Andretti alongside Maurizio Gugelmin. Maurizio let him through there, and he really ought to let Rahal through too, because he's not on the same lap as the leaders. We've had the second round of pit stops, so one more stop to go, about 67 laps gone out of 98 at the moment, and Rahal is tucked in behind Gugelmin. He needs to get by, and he needs to get by in a hurry, because as we can see from our position alongside Rahal, Andretti is getting away. But Andretti's got a back marker now too. Now he's through. It's the other Pac West car. But this is very much the battle of the race, and it's the battle for the lead. And this is so often what makes IndyCar racing so exciting. It's not as sophisticated as Formula One. It is not as technically interesting as Formula One, but it provides some tremendous motor racing as Gugelmin lets Rahal through to continue the chase of Mike Andretti. There's about 3 seconds between those two. Well, there's less than that now, as you can see. And we're going back to our American team live in Toronto. That's Paul Page and Sam Posey with Lynn St. James at the circuit.
Well, Paul, that calculation was based upon his first sequence of pit stops. But remember, we've talked about them getting such great fuel mileage. One of the reasons is they don't have to build as much horsepower. They don't have to consume as much fuel. That's not the case when you're running third or fourth and trying to chase down Michael Andretti. During that sequence of racing, actually, Barry Green told Jacques Villeneuve, we've got to go for it and let it all hang out. And they consumed more fuel than they normally do under race circumstances. When I asked him about it, he said, we've got to put the coals to it to try and get the lead back.
Jack, I talked to their aerodynamicist, Tony Sicali. He said Jacques had the road race setup versus the street course setup. That might be a factor, too.
Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
Well, we've been talking, of course, about the pain and the problems that Paul Tracy's having to endure with that broken left foot. And coming out of the pits last time, did a marvelous job of controlling the clutch, not wasting any time getting out. But here's what they've done the last couple of days. Remember at the last race, Elkhart recently repaved, very smooth. You all talked earlier about how bumpy and how rough it is here, and the foot taking a thrashing in the cockpit. So what they've done basically is they've built a carbon fiber shell around, which he had last week, around this part of the foot. But now, to help cushion it, they've slipped down inside a silicone gel type material, a substance that they've sealed in there. Then they wrapped it all with tape. Paul said that that gave him much more comfort. And in the morning warm-up session today, he said it was really the best that it had been all weekend. He was in tremendous pain on Friday. It's gotten a wee bit better with that little adjustment. They also put some more padding down on the foot box area on the left side. He's doing a marvelous job once again, I think, under most trying circumstances.
Currently running in 10th place. So let's try and reset the stage now as we go to the final 28 laps in the race. Michael Andretti is the leader, and as you can see, being chased by Bobby Rahal, who's just 2/10 back and battling with Michael. And then it's 20 seconds from Rahal back to Jack Villeneuve, who runs in 3rd place. And Jack right now has Vassar and Bobby climbing all over the back of his car. There's the leader, Michael Andretti.
Does this mean to these two men? Michael Andretti has not won a race for a full year. And Bobby Rahal has not won a race since Nazareth in 1992. Either one of them could easily win this one.
Sullivan, the quickest of that group, and Eddie Cheever. Michael comes up behind Sullivan. Look back from Michael, the look ahead to Rahal, the two cars in competition.
You put yourself in the cockpit, and of course, particularly for Andretti, he's looking at the cars ahead of him that he's got to lap. And he knows it's not only a question of getting by them, but getting by them in such a way that it makes it tough for Rahal to get by him too.
Affecting the fight for the lead that we are watching from both onboard cameras, 1st and 2nd place, is somewhat affected by the fact that the rubber has built up on the outside of some of these critical corners, especially 1 and 3 where they can pass, and so moving offline too far could be very dangerous. In fact, no doubt would end your day.
Yeah, Rahal's able to close under braking, it seems like, you know, in those critical corners, but finding that place to pass when you've got comparable equipment right now, and obviously they are very comparable.
Earlier in the season, Andretti and his teammate Tracy fought a brake problem. They seem to have overcome that.
So the real trick now is how are they going to handle traffic ahead? That's when they can make the move.
There's Sullivan right ahead of them.
You know, you should keep track, too, in this fight, actually sitting behind Rahal. Not part of the fight is Ribeiro. He's actually 2 laps off the leader pace, but that Honda in his car has been turning laps at 108.6 miles an hour, his fastest of the day, so a very capable power plant there. Too bad that he got a lap off the pace.
Rahal, of course, passed up that Honda engine for this year's season. Perhaps as he sees it in his mirrors now, he might be thinking, I wish I had it.
This is the fight on the course. It is for the lead. Rahal takes another look inside Michael.
Ford engine aboard Michael's car, Mercedes-Benz aboard Rahal. The big straightaway.
Sullivan and Cheever just ahead. Sullivan runs 18th. Cheever is up on the leader lap. Last car on the leader lap. Well, not anymore. Well, he touches. Cheever gets together with Michael.
Rahal's chance. I think Michael's okay. I don't think that hurt him.
Got to keep an eye on that left front, though. He picked it up on the inside of that corner. And it seems to ride high there. Now back on the track.
I think he's okay.
Remember at Miami, first of the year?
But this, of course, is where you just, as a driver, you go, my God, is it okay? Is it okay? And you still got to race. He's leading the race. He can't just sit around and see, do I feel okay? He's got to keep pushing it. And this is the most dangerous part of the track. 155 miles an hour through here. Not the place to have something go wrong.
Rahal sets him up for turn 1. Possible pass coming here. Michael comes across Rahal. Next chance is turn 3.
This is where personality is everything. No, I'm not going to let you by. I'm fighting. That's what the mode that Michael's in.
Race course does belong to the leader. They have Eddie Cheever, who they almost put a lap down in this corner last time, but then they got together. So now Michael closes Cheever again. Rahal is right there. There's what happened on the last pass through turn 3. Cheever gave him some room.
He just didn't see him, or he needed more room than he got.
And Rahal tried to poke the nose into the right, couldn't get it done, so the battle continues for the lead. There's Cheever, Michael, Rahal, Ribeiro's still there. That's Johansson. Johansson is currently 16th.
Remember, these cars have over 700 horsepower. They're loose here on a very, very tight circuit. It's tough to maneuver the cars as precisely sometimes as you would wish.
Look at the onboard, Bobby Rahal. There it is. This is that same turn. Michael just ahead. Cheever making the turn into the corner.
Here's the contact.
Michael was hugging the wall, so Cheever must not have known he was there. Michael couldn't have gotten any closer to that wall.
Now what do you do if you're Rahal? You move to the inside. You hope Michael's lost enough steam to get by, but not quite.
There just wasn't enough room for everybody, because I think the only option Cheever would have had would have been to stay out. He would have gotten into the marbles.
Mario Andretti watches his son Michael, occasionally communicates with him. But here's the key of what is happening here. While this battle goes on for the lead, third place, Jack Villeneuve, who on lap 70 was 21 seconds behind, we're now on lap 77, and he's only 14 seconds behind.
3 times early in Michael's career, Bobby Rahal denied him the national championship. So Rahal in many ways has been the sort of onerous driver as far as Michael is concerned. He would love to win this race from Bobby Rahal.
Look, the same situation from Rahal's car. Look at Michael. Boy, he got it off the wall on the right. Rahal tried to tuck it in on the right-hand side of Michael, but Michael right back in that throttle and maintained his position as the leader of the race, though Rahal is still right there. So 78 laps are now complete as Bobby Rahal's crew keeps track of the telemetry in the pits. And they keep an eye on Bobby Rahal's bid for the lead over Michael Andretti. We'll be back.
Eurosport Live.
Just 19 laps left here in Toronto. The position remains the same. That's the leader, Mike Andretti in the Newman-Haas Lola Ford, followed extremely closely by Bobby Rahal in the Mercedes-powered Lola. And that is Andre Ribeiro in the Honda-powered car off the circuit, but he's kept it running and he'll be back into the race, but he's not a feature in this race anyway, so don't worry about Andre Ribeiro. The thing to watch is Andretti versus Rahal. And it was Ribeiro was following that lead battle actually, and he just braked too late for the right-hander there. But this is a wonderful battle, and I think Rahal is quicker. From what we can see on the screen, it looks as though Rahal is the quicker man, but he just can't find a way by Andretti. He had a couple of chances. Once when Andretti had a touch with Eddie Cheever, they argued over the same piece of corner. Not badly, thankfully. That would have ruined the race. And then a couple of laps later, Andretti just kissed the wall at the same corner with the right rear. So Rahal's had a couple of chances, but he just hasn't been able to get by, and the track's too narrow in that place for him to get on the power and squeeze by Michael Andretti. In third position is Jacques Villeneuve, then it's Jimmy Vasser, then it's Theo Fabi, then Gilles de Ferran, then Robbie Gordon, and then Raoul Boesel. So that's the top 8 with 18 laps here to go here in Toronto. We'll go back now to Paul Page and Sam Posey.
Rahal and said back away from Michael Andretti. They felt that the dirty air was what was creating the problem. So the interval between first and second has increased to Andretti's advantage, but on purpose, trying to cool the engine of Bobby Rahal's car.
The tough thing, of course, Jack, as you well know, is that takes away some of the attack potential for Bobby Rahal if they close up in traffic. If an opportunity is going to occur, as one almost did a few laps back, then Rahal has got to be close up behind.
What about the leader, Michael Andretti? Gary Gerald?
Well, his father Mario is here. Mario, in your first year of not being out here driving on this circuit of Toronto, you have the luxury of the big screen, so you saw that close contact between Michael and Eddie Cheever. How do you react when you see that?
Well, normally you like to think that if the guy's being lapped, he probably would cut him a break, but I guess Cheever and Sullivan were having their own little battle, so you know, just one of those things. Everybody just racing for their own position, I guess.
How hard is it being in this seat as opposed to being in a seat out there, Mario?
Certainly not as much fun.
All right, there it is from the man who's given us so many great thrills over the years, Paul.
This is that battle back for third place between Villeneuve and Jimmy Vasser. They started first and second. Now they battle for third, and they are still, well, the interval's actually widening back to Rahal, back to 19 and a half seconds. So the battle remains right at the front of the field.
But throw in Bobby there and DeFerrin. Bobby in the white and orange car and DeFerrin in the yellow one. This battle for third is intense.
Len, we were looking at Paul Newman earlier, and I made the statement that if he had found racing before movies, he might have stayed there. You've raced against him. Your admiration carries him perhaps even further than that.
Well, I think if he had started racing at a younger age and had the benefit of, you know, age and all that experience, maybe a world champion there, you know?
Of course, he fell in love with racing after making the film Winning. Vasser beginning to show some smoke at the back end.
It doesn't look like brake smoke.
Oh, yeah, that's not brakes there, I don't think. Right at the right rear of the car. So Jimmy Vasser may have a new problem, and it might not be one of brakes. We'll keep track of that for you. Michael Andretti is leading Rahal. Rahal's right on the back of the car. So a battle for the lead, battle for third. We've got a pretty good race going here in the Molson Indy Toronto. We'll be right back.
84 laps are now complete, just 14 remaining here at Toronto. Michael Andretti continuing to lead over Bobby Rahal, but here's a great battle, and now Teo Fabi has been able to get past Jimmy Vasser. So it's Villeneuve, Fabi, Vasser, and looks like DeFerran is also going to be able to make the move on Vasser. He's obviously got troubles. He's just going to stick out there now and try and score some points. Remember, he's picked up 50 points in the last 3 races and could still pick up some valuable points for the championship here. Now Michael Andretti has got, or Bobby Rahal, very close to Michael Andretti as they come up on Danny Sullivan and try and put him another lap down. They should have room here to make the move as they go down and under braking into 3. Could be an interesting moment. Is Rahal going to have a look down the inside? Yes, he is, but no, not going to make a move this time round. He's going to wait. As we pointed out, once you get offline here, it's terribly slippery, so you've really got to be careful where you make that move, or else you won't make any. Well, the only move you will make will be into the nearest concrete barrier. Rahal at this point looking for points, of course, for the championship. He's won it 3 times before. Jimmy Vasser has pulled into the pits, so there goes his position, and the crew going to work on the rear cork. Oh, in fact, Vasser's going to get out of the car, so no points here this weekend for the Toyota Atlantic graduate, San Francisco resident. A shame for him. There's Chip Ganassi, the team owner, talking to him. They know they've had 3 good races in a row, and now this one coming to an end early for them. Of course, Brian Herter out very early on. Rahal continues to chase down Michael Andretti. Now 86 laps completed. Don't forget, 98 lap race. Just 12 to go. Michael Andretti probably hearing all sorts of things in his car right now, but of course being guided by the crew and by the team owner back in the pit as to what to do and exactly where Rahal is and what Rahal's plan is, the strategy. These guys all on radios, but lots of scanners floating around in that paddock area in the pit lane, so people monitor exactly what is going on. Michael Andretti continuing to lead. He may pick up a bonus point for leading the most laps here. Of course, Jacques Villeneuve picked up the point for the pole position. 20 points go to the winner. It's Andretti, Rahal, Villeneuve, Fabi, and DeFerran.
So Jimmy Vasser out of the race. Great disappointment for the team. They'd already lost Brian Herter very early on. But what we're interested in is this battle for the lead, and there it is. It's Michael Andretti followed by Bobby Rahal as they push Jimmy Vasser's car away for the rest of the day. Now Bobby Rahal has dropped back a bit from Andretti. This may be because he wants a bit of breathing space. After all, we've got 12 laps to go, or it may be that he just cannot get on terms with Andretti and he's decided to settle for second, which is a very useful bag of championship points. He's lying third in the series at the moment behind Villeneuve and Gordon, and second here in Toronto would be a lot better than pushing too hard behind Andretti and getting involved in some kind of off-course excursion, either with or without Andretti. In third place is Jacques Villeneuve. There he is, followed extremely closely by Teo Fabi and Gilles de Ferran. There they are, all three together. Villeneuve now coming under pressure from Fabi and de Ferran. I think there must be something wrong with the Team Green Reynard Ford, because Villeneuve has been very quick all day, but suddenly he's dropped right back from the leaders. And here they are now with just 11 laps to go. Andretti from Rahal. And this will be, if he wins, a great boost for Mike Andretti. He's had an absolutely dreadful year. He hasn't won a race for a year. He's had a very bad season. He's had a lot of accidents. It appeared that he'd lost a lot of confidence. It appeared that he'd become very erratic. But today he hasn't yet made one serious mistake. He's been under a lot of pressure from Bobby Rahal, and Rahal knows how to put people under pressure. So this could be a turnaround for Newman Haas. Paul Tracy way down the field after spinning out of third place. Al Unser Jr., an early retirement after a collision and then going into the wall. We've seen absolutely nothing of Emerson Fittipaldi. So yet another utterly dismal weekend for the Penske team, but things looking very good for Lola. Lola running first and second, and then it's a string of Reynards. And Villeneuve now only just holding off Teo Fabi. Whether he can hold Teo off for the rest of the race, I do not know, but it's looking awfully close. And of course, one single tiniest mistake at this stage and you're into the wall. There's an awful lot of oil and rubber and dust and grit and stuff off the racing line. So after nearly 2 hours of racing, it's absolute hyper concentration at this stage, and Villeneuve needs these points. He's leading the series and he needs to come away from here with points. He'd love to have won, of course, being at home here in Canada, but that is not to be, because the lead at the moment is held reasonably securely by Mike Andretti, with Father Mario watching and talking very diplomatically, I thought, about the collision with Eddie Cheever. But then Mario's seen hundreds of things like that and he's not going to get too excited. Bobby Rahal stuck temporarily behind Maurizio Gugelmin, and that's de Ferran's car, and he's out of the car. Oh, what a disappointment. Groans in Bicester tonight at the sight of that Jim Hall Reynard in the pits. Gilles de Ferran, he's shown such good form this year in his first year in Indy cars, as Bobby Rahal gets round the PacWest car of Gugelmin to chase again after Andretti. De Ferran has shown tremendous form. He's really been looking good in some of the races, only to either retire or go off the road or have some kind of bad luck. Adrian Fernandez, this is the Mexican. We've seen quite a lot from him today. That car's leaping about all over the place. There's the top six: Andretti, Rahal, Villeneuve, Teo Fabi, Robbie Gordon up to fifth. Robbie Gordon, the man who lies second in the series at the moment, up to fifth position after a pretty dull race from him today. He's never really featured, but by staying out there, he's up into fifth. And Raul Berzelas, Teo Fabi has a look at Jacques Villeneuve, but there just isn't room there unless he can get a fantastic tow out of the corner before. But even so, I can't see Jacques letting him through there. This is Robbie Gordon, fifth place, second in the championship, the Canadian. He'd like to have won here in Toronto, of course, but Gordon's had a couple of off-the-pace races. Not as off the pace as Penske, however. They really have got a lot of work to do. Nobody's quite sure what's happening with Emerson Fittipaldi. There's talk of retirement. Al Unser Jr. very candidly said he just left his braking far too late and outbraked himself straight into the wall. But it's good that Al can say that kind of thing. No excuses from Jr. today. And that is one of the saddest sights of the night. Gilles de Ferran's bright yellow Reynard in the pits, and it's there for good. He is not going to score any points today. Very few cars left out there now, actually, with 4 cars out in one accident earlier on. That was Guerrero and Zampedri, Salazar and Bachelard. And Unser's out, Hurt is out, Pruitt's out. Stefan Johansson is still running. He might even make it into the top 10 by the end of the race. But you can see just what a punishing competition this is as we ride with Robbie Gordon. It's very, very bumpy out there. The car leaps about a lot unless you've got it perfectly set up, and these are the two guys who've had the best setup today. Andretti and Rahal in the Lolas. Andretti's with a Ford engine and Rahal's with a Mercedes-Benz. This is Paul Tracy in the other Newman Haas Lola, Christian Fittipaldi. Christian Fittipaldi's been in and out of the top 10 this afternoon. He's never really shown very strongly, but Christian in his first year of IndyCar, like Gilles de Ferran, shown some good pace on occasions. But this is the championship leader, Jacques Villeneuve. He's keeping Theo Fabi behind him. And by the look of this contest, he's going to be able to keep Theo there for the rest of the race. Theo's going to have to pull something up very dramatic off. He's not going to make it there. I thought he was going to run into Villeneuve or off the circuit. But I just can't see how Theo's going to get by. Well, for the story of the last few laps, we go back to Toronto with Paul Page and Sam Posey with Lynn St. James at the circuit.
Back in the closing laps now, 93 laps of 98 complete, watching the battle for third place. Theo Fabi is right there doing everything he can to get around Jacques Villeneuve, who started on the pole, but only once in the history of this race has the pole sitter gone on to win, and that was Michael Andretti in 1991. We'll be with you to the checkered flag here now at the front of the field. Michael still holding off Bobby Rahal. And this interval is just a little bit closer, so for the moment we'll stay here.
It's like Jock pulls away, you know, and he gets ahead a little bit, and then Bobby just seems to whittle it right back. So it's a real fight.
From time to time, you get a view of Robbie Gordon, who is closing in from 5th place. Danny Sullivan just reported out of the race with a blown engine. He was running 18th at the time.
Remember that Jerry Forsythe
back at the lead, Michael and Rahal.
Interestingly, Michael has won 4 out of the last 5 races that he has run here. And now, after a dismal season, a year after winning his last race, which he did here, he's now in a position to win again. Is this a great track for him or what?
Emerson Fittipaldi is the last car on the leader lap, running in 10th place. Of course, Al Unser Jr. out very early on. Interesting that Roger Penske has only won 2 of 23 IndyCar races held in Canada.
This is so exciting because Rahal, again, was able to pull up, you know, and chip that lead down, but where would he be able to pull off a pass with 2 cars that...
Robbie Gordon still closing on Theo. Look at him back there.
I was going to say that Jerry Forsythe now owns Theo Fabi's car. He was partners with Barry Green, who owns the Villeneuve car last year. They split up, and so now there's a rivalry of owners as well as drivers on display here.
Well, this is going to very quickly become a 3-way battle as Theo tries to get Jack and Robbie Gordon tries to get them both. I would not advise moving offline on that corner, though.
Not exactly.
That's why you're seeing such caution. Just direct your eyes to the edges of the road. Take your eyes off the cars for a second. You see that gray line. That's that tire dust, the marbles. Gordon, of course, a championship contender very much. He is in a position he would be joyous if he saw Villeneuve and Fabi tangle right in front of him. He'd drive by those guys with a huge smile on his face. Here's Michael. As dominant here on this track as Al Unser Jr. is at Long Beach.
What a boost this will be for Michael, who has had such a frustrating year thus far. 95 laps complete, but Rahal is not out of it yet.
I talked to Carl Haas. I said, do you think Michael will ever win? He said, oh yeah, chomping on his cigar. He said, oh yeah, Mikey will get a few this year. Like Mikey could just go and reach and grab them off the shelf. And it's true, when he has a good day, he's that fast, he's that kind of a driver.
What will this do to the points? Well, if they finish as they are now, Jack will continue his points lead with 118. Bobby Rahal in second with 94, and Robbie Gordon in third with 91, and Michael Andretti being fourth with 90, followed by his teammate Paul Tracy in fifth. That's the points if they were to flag the race right at this moment.
And remember, there are 6 races yet to go in the PPG season, so there's really quite a lot. We're around the 2/3 point.
Boy, now we have an interesting situation. There's Gugelman just ahead of that battle. Remember the effect that he had on the lead earlier. Maybe Canadian television will get us back there in a second, but they wanted to get us on the white flag lap for the leader of the race, Michael Andretti.
This is it for Rahal if anything is going to happen. He's got one more major passing opportunity. Is going to come at the end of this long straightaway. It does not look like he's got a good run on Michael, who is protecting his position, taking a shallow line down that straightaway.
Final chance of a turn here. No chance at all for Rahal.
No traffic ahead either. Good news for Michael as he looks up the track. He's not going to be held up, or doesn't look as if he is, by a back marker.
Michael Andretti through the final set of turns. Rahal still in pursuit, but not nearly close enough to take Michael out of the win. As Michael Andretti on his way to his first win of the season. Rahal still there and trying, loses the back end a little bit as he makes that final try. But here comes Michael Andretti. Final set of corners past the pit entrance. And Michael Andretti takes his 30th career win. And back-to-back wins, his 5th here in Toronto. Finally, for Michael, the frustration is over. Now, we keep an eye on this battle for a second. I want to tell you, we would like to interview Michael Andretti at the conclusion of the race. We watch the battle for third. We're running out of time. We're going to try and do this interview and try and get Michael around as quickly as possible. We'll do the best we can for you. We continue to watch the battle for second. For third place, it remains unresolved. Now resolved with Jack Villeneuve crossing the line in third, then Teo Fabi, then Robbie Gordon. Raul Boisel in sixth. Adrian Fernandez, then Paul Tracy, Christian Fittipaldi in ninth, just ahead of his uncle Emerson Fittipaldi. Well, Michael, hustle it around here. We'd like to talk to you before this is over. Matter of fact, they are radioing him saying, hurry up, we want to try and get a quick interview because we're running very rapidly out of time here in Toronto.
Fantastic race in Toronto. We've got a very little bit of time left now, but just to run through the top 6, it was Michael Andretti who did it in the Lola Ford for Newman Haas, and then Bobby Rahal in the Mercedes-powered Lola. So great day for Huntington. Third, Jacques Villeneuve in the Reynard, then Teo Fabi in another Reynard, then Robbie Gordon in yet another one of those, and rounding out the top 6, Raul Boesel in the Lola. Here's Michael. No, not here's Michael. He's trying to get his helmet off. They're trying to interview him before he gets his helmet off, but we'll hear what he has to say. He'll be a very happy man today, I think. A great win for Michael Andretti. He deserved that one, really. He didn't make a single serious mistake, and he has made a few of those this year. Newman Haas will be very pleased indeed. The championship, Villeneuve still leads with 118 points. In second place, it's Bobby Rahal moving up to second, ahead of Robbie Gordon with 94. Robbie Gordon going down to third with 91 points. And fourth now will be Michael Andretti, fourth in the championship with 90 points. So another race next weekend on the lakefront, of course, that wide open, extraordinary looking airfield circuit. I never know how they find their way around it. A big wide open space, totally different from the streets of Toronto. And there's lots more motor racing to come tonight on Eurosport. Mark Cole will be with you right after this with the truck racing, and then later on tonight, John Watson and Ben Edwards with the British Grand Prix, the repeat of today's British Grand Prix. So if you're into racing, stay with us for the tracks and for Formula One. Right now, though, that's pretty much it from the IndyCar in Toronto. A tremendous race, excitement all the way through, spoilt at the beginning by a lot of yellow flags and a lot of collisions. But in the end, it really was extremely exciting. A bad day for Penske, a great day for Lola, and all those middle positions taken up by Reynards. Anything could happen in this championship. Anything could happen. Villeneuve is not yet dominant. Rahal is right there, and Newman Haas are fighting back. We'll see you again next weekend. Stay tuned for the trucks and Formula One later. Good night.